Hello everyone, it is Leon here, and I am with Ben.
I am Ben, hello.
The editor of Official PlayStation Magazine, who has been to see something.
Yeah, I've been to see GTA 5, and I've subsequently wrote 3,115 words, and I've been counting on it, and it's been quite exhausting and exciting, and they'll all be live to tally with this video. So when you've watched, these pictures, so when you've watched this, please go and read my words, because I've spent ages writing them, and I'm now knackered.
So yeah, there'll be a link to the feature on the site. But yeah, so you've been to see. Well, what have you been to see?
So I went to see a couple of missions. I went to see an individual look at each character. So Michael, Franklin, and Trevor. There's Michael, and then I saw one solo mission, which was featuring Michael, and one collective three-way mission, which was like a heist. It wasn't an actual heist, but like a heist, which are massive new things in GTA 5, and it's called Blitz Play. And that was the total sum of what I saw.
Okay, so what's Blitz Play then? That's the first thing. That sounds like a new thing.
Well, Blitz Play, it's actually the name of a mission. It's a mission where it's confusingly entitled Blitz Play. It's actually like it's a heist style mission, but it actually does take place as part of the storyline, where you basically the three characters meet up. They discuss their plans. They have to get an unnamed item of cargo back from the IAA, which is the obviously GTA equivalent of the CIA. Mm-hmm. Michael's working for the FIB at the time, and basically they plot out how they're going to retrieve this unspoken piece of cargo or evidence they need. So basically the first task is, you want me to talk you through the whole thing?
Yeah.
So the first task is you get in a car. Who do you just control first? I think you control Michael first. You get in a garbage truck. You drive to a location marked as a traditional by a yellow waypoint on the minimap. You park this truck across a road. Then they switch to the second character, which is Franklin. Franklin is in a tow truck. You drive with him to a separate part of the map in readiness to ambush the CIA, the IAA van, and then you take control of the third character, Trevor. Trevor's up on higher ground. I think he's on a highway with a pair of binoculars. He's overseeing the whole thing, making sure it all runs in sync. When he gives the signal, you then take control of Franklin again. Basically, Trevor will give the signal that the security truck has successfully been blockaded by Michael's truck, and then with Franklin's truck, you have to drive into the security van, overturn it, jump out of the truck with Franklin, plant a sticky bomb on the rear doors. It's all very heat, this whole thing. Yeah. He plants a sticky bomb on the rear doors of the security van, blows it open, takes out the item or items that are required, and then obviously a load of police turn up, swarm the area. You've got copters, SWAT vans, just standard police vehicles, and then so up until this point, you've basically you haven't had any choice in terms of controlling the characters. It's been preordained for you in terms of, you control the character that makes the most sense in the context of the mission. Once the police have turned up, it's then up to you. So there's a little weapon wheel on the bottom right hand corner of the screen. I think I've actually got it denoted here, the directions you press. You press up to control Franklin, right to control Trevor, left to control Michael. This is all on using the right stick. Yeah. And by switching between the three characters, you can pick the police off at your mercy. So Franklin's like on low ground behind cover. Michael is up on like a low roof, so he's got a slightly different angle of attack. They're both carrying machine guns. And then up still on the higher ground on this freeway is Trevor with... Trevor's the nutter of the group, so yeah. Trevor has a sniper rifle and an RPG. Trevor basically, he's like the one to pick off the guys who are behind cover, yeah. And the guys lower down, the guys to pick off who are closing in on them with the machine guns. At one point, the sort of copter gets in close to Franklin and Michael's position, and you switch back to Trevor, and you take the copter out with the rocket launcher. The guy who was showing this from Rockstar actually did this in one take, as it were. So I think you've been practicing.
So check though. Can you? At this point, can you just switch freely between them, or are you kind of like doing crisis control again? Some people there, I'll switch to this guy, some people there, I'll switch to that guy, or do you just pick one?
No, you can switch between them at will. The tricky thing is, as it was explained to me by Rockstar, is that any of these characters can die and set you back slightly.
Can you say when you said Trevor's rocket launcher, the first thing I thought was take Trevor, fire the rocket launcher. But if I'm shooting at a load of police and Michael are there, can I kill Michael?
I do not know the answer. I'd say in theory, yes, depending where you fire it. I think that it seems to be. Again, I can't say this as 100% concrete facts because I haven't played it myself. But from watching a Rockstar rep play it, it seems that when characters aren't in your control, so let's say you're up on high controlling Trevor with the rocket launcher, that it seems that Franklin and Michael will still suffer damage, but maybe not as much damage as if you're controlling them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not going to cheat. They're not invincible. If you don't take control of Michael or Franklin, and they suffer loads of damage, they will die and will be set back.
Yeah.
But yeah, like in terms of the question of whether you can harm them, the answer is I don't know.
Okay.
But yeah, and then basically, so once you've cleared out all the cops, for me, when I was being shown this, the last act was Trevor taking out this copter, and then it reverted back to Franklin. Franklin is clearly like the junior of the three.
Yeah.
So Michael's like an ex-bank robber. He's like the boss. Trevor's like an ex-associate with him, and they've got back into bed together in the sense that they're now doing jobs together. Franklin has got connected to these two by way of his boss. He works for this Armenian chap. He thinks he's working above board, basically repossessing cars. Actually, what's happening is the Armenian chap is selling these cars to people who can't afford the payments, and then sending Franklin and his pal Lamar in to repossess the cars that the Armenian chap sold. So basically, Franklin's the junior of the group. The end of this three-way mission ends with him getting back in his vehicle, the garbage truck. He drives off to like a secure location in the middle of nowhere. And he parks the truck up, he tosses a grenade under it to blow it up, and then he gets in a getaway car and off he drives, and that's the mission basically complete once he's back to a safe house. Now what's intriguing is this mission is carried out with all three characters wearing masks, and apparently previous missions building up to this one have seen you acquiring these masks. There's a level of customization, a level of choice where you know I don't really know how it works, but as part of these missions where you're securing the masks, you can choose a different one for each character. You don't have to use the same one for each character every time. Also, apparently, there's a mission where the location I was talking about, where Franklin is dropping off the garbage truck and blowing it up, and then driving off in the car. That's actually been, again, they've done recon on that area. They know you won't necessarily pick when you're playing Leon. You might find a different location to me to park up the garbage, to park up the getaway car, and to swap it with the with the garbage truck. It's like what you do in the previous missions will build up to these bigger missions, and I think the feeling is they want more missions like the 3 Clover one in GTA 4, like the bank job in GTA San Andreas, where there's multiple tiers to it. It's not just go here, do this, finish that, then go here, do something else, finish that. It's all you're doing a series of 6 or 7 smaller missions to build up to one bigger one.
So do they say? So do you get to choose kind of? Is that like a mission thread, if you see what I mean? So there'll be a thread, and each stage along it will be a mission towards the final goal. Yeah,
I think that's the feeling. Is that you're still, there's some linearity to it, and you're obviously in sourcing the masks or in finding a place to hide a getaway car. You're always going to put this end point doing this this particular blitz play mission, but the way you build up to it and the things you use, the tools you use to do it, will be different to how I approach it. The end point is the same.
See, that sounds quite interesting because it sounds like there's going to be different kinds of missions. Because one of my issues, one of the things I found with GTA 4 were a lot of the missions felt a bit the same. Where there was some driving, there was some shooting, there was some driving. And that was sort of every mission.
I think the feeling with the way Rockstar, again, the way it was explained to me, is the way Rockstar feel about previous GTAs is they're open world games, and there's a lot of freedom in terms of what you do away from missions. But when it comes to the missions themselves, it's quite a linear process. And what they want to do is feel that, I'm sure there'll still be some structure and linearity to progressing through the game, but the idea is that when you come to missions, you can do them differently to how other people approach them. With heists, it was explained to me that you actually, when you meet up to do them, you can bring aboard crews with, you can bring aboard people with specific abilities like driving or various technical skills. And again, when you could plot to do a heist stealthily, and I could plot to do it to go in to do the same thing when I get to that point of the game. and adopt a very different tactic to it. And again, heists they've been very tight-lipped about in terms of explaining details, but that certainly sounds like the way they're heading, where they want, you're still going to end up doing the same missions as your friends, but you might approach them in a very different way. And I think that's a really refreshing and good thing for the series.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that interests me looking at the information and talking to you is this idea with the heists, you can recruit specific crew members, and the better the member is at their job, the more they cost. So the more you have to pay them at the end of the job. So I guess if you're going to do like a run and gun heist, you weren't really that bothered. You just hire a bunch of thugs, pay them cheap, kill everyone on the way. But if you did want to do, say, the stealthy one, you'd have to earn more money. Well, have more money in the pot to pay the cut for the more technically accomplished guys. Yeah,
you as a man who's quite a sophisticated gamer and like stealth and like plotting things out will probably do it the more detailed way. Whereas me as Mr. Wade in. Shoot everything in sight. We'll probably, like you say, just pick 3 or 4 thugs and then just try and blitz our way through a heist. So it's going to be fascinating to swap stories. I think it's the thing of pub talk, isn't it? Everyone talks about GTA in the pub, but you talk about funny things, or Red Dead. You talk about funny things that happen away from the missions rather than what happens within the gameplay that everyone experiences. I think what they want now is people to have, even with those shared gameplay experiences, that are linear in the sense they're advancing you through the storyline, you're still getting a very unique experience.
Yeah, which sounds interesting, like you say, because everyone's normally their stories is stuff that happens off the beaten track, or something that takes them away from a mission. And this sounds like they're engineering a level of freedom within a sort of a confined space.
Well, and something that plays directly into that is they've brought back sort of their to an extent in San Andreas, they've brought back this sort of attribute system, where your characters are ranked across 9 separate skills. I'll read them out to you if I can find them. They are. Can I find them? You've got almost like an RPG. You've got 9 different skills which I can't find on my paper now. Helpfully,
what were a couple? What are the sort of things that you're?
Well, the most controversial one is like they all have a special ability, and this is quite strange, and I think people were going to be divided about it. Basically, you by pressing L3, you can activate a special ability. It's very arcadey. It's not actually that GTA, and as I say, some people will moan about it. Franklin can activate basically bullet time in races. So Franklin, the idea with his character is he loves his cars. He's a bit of a boy racer. And so his special ability is that during races you can press L3 to slow down time. So basically if you're trying to do a complicated overtaking manoeuvre, or you're trying to take a ridiculous corner at an absurd speed, you can do that with this sort of racing bullet time. Michael's got more conventional bullet time, where just in shootouts by pressing L3 you can activate that. Sadly, I was hoping it would be in a sort of Red Dead fashion. You'd be able to not only activate bullet time but paint targets. Apparently it's not that. Apparently it's much more like
just
Max Payne,
basic slowdown.
And then Trevor being the hothead of the group and the loose cannon. And you must have watched his trailer by now. It's hilarious, like how completely over the top he is. He can, when you activate his special ability, he can do double damage with any shots he fires, but only take half the damage of any shots he's hit with. So that's kind of the loose cannon playing into his special ability, and other things that they're rated on. For instance, are flying. Like Trevor's an ex-military pilot, so he has quite a high flying rating. They've rated on strength. They're rating on stealth abilities. Again, Leon, they're probably more used to you than they are to me. I mean, they're not going to start off all being terrible in these fields. They're all going to have their own personalities.
Yeah.
I was just saying the idea going forwards is that they'll begin with one personality, but if you want to shape them to your own liking, if you want to make Franklin like really amazing at flying, then you'll be able to upgrade him in that area over time. You're going to be able to have these 3 distinct personalities, and you can reshape them as you wish. And that all comes down to it's not just in these attributes; it's also aesthetically. They can get tattoos, they can get new hairstyles, and obviously you've got, as usual, your clothes shops dotted around the map. When you unlock clothes for these characters, they are. If you go into a shop with Michael and buy a hoodie to deck him in, that is his hoodie. It doesn't apply to the other characters until you buy it with those characters. So there's a real uniqueness to these 3 characters.
I think it's interesting that the 3 characters seem to drill down into sort of the ways most people play GTA or what people assume GTA is. So you got driving, you got being a cool criminal, and you got going crazy.
Yeah, absolutely.
So each character represents a facet of the game.
Well, in a weird way, they seem to sort of tie in with the past games. It's like if you love San Andreas, you really love playing as Franklin. If you love GTA 4 or Lost in the Damned, you'll love playing as Michael. And if you love the early GTAs, the sort of just madcap insanity of it, then you enjoy playing as Trevor. And they sort of seem to have taken an influence from their past games. Yeah. Exactly, you know, and again, you know, that doesn't mean that those characters will stay that way. If you want to turn Trevor into the sort of sophisticated, stealthy one, over time you can.
Could do, yeah.
If you want to turn Michael into the lunatic, then that is your choice. And, you know, I think it's great that one of my criticisms with Nico was it seemed really strange to me that there was this guy who apparently didn't want to carry out all all these horrible things he had to do, and he made thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars in the end, and there was still sort of this weird reluctance to him. Like, it didn't feel like you could shape that character. With these guys, you're absolutely going to have free reign to do what you want with them and to sort of evolve their personality and their look over time. And, you know, I think GTA 4 was great for what it was, but this is more your sort of CJ from San Andreas feel, where you become, can I say, you become one with that character. And, you know, they take on whatever traits you want them to have. I
think it's interesting as well. This is the first GTA, whatever really, where they've managed to, they're trying to make some quite major changes. So there's a soundtrack for the first time. They've got these sort of game-like powers. In the past, they always seem to sort of steer away from it taking on anything game-like. So, so you had your phone, you only had music when you had a radio. You know, there weren't any obviously game-like points or scores. And now they're going into sort of a game kind of territory with more stats, with the special powers, the soundtrack, and with the swapping between the three characters. They're trying to make some big changes.
I guess lessons have been learned from Red Dead, in the sense that Red Dead was, you know, very authentic to what we imagine the Wild West to have been like, but equally there were a lot of movie elements to it as well. Yeah. In terms of, you know, like similar to GTA 5, having like a bespoke soundtrack, you know, that kicked in at opportune moments. You know, everyone remembers the moment you arrive in Mexico when you're on the horse, and you know that classic Mexican theme is playing. You know, I think they realise that people standout moments aren't the moments necessarily that are like reality. There are moments that are like great films, and you know, GTAs have always had the sort of the cinematic feel to them. There's always been nods to Rockstar's favourite movies, and I think this is somewhere between the two, where it's like it's got the authenticity of driving around Los Angeles, and you know, and that side of it, and the absurdity and humour you expect from GTA, but also there's those more gamey moments, those more Hollywood moments where you kind of, you know, that it's not authentic, you know, like the arcadey special abilities we talked about, but they make it feel more fun as a game. And you know, to be fair, San Andreas, I've just talked about realism. In San Andreas, you ended up, you know, getting jetpacks and flying all around.
When you used to have that pill as well, in 3 at least, you had that pill that slowed everything down, and you would bounce around like a spaceman blowing stuff up. But
I think this is kind of like, it almost, I guess I like it. It's like a GTA greatest hits, where it's all the best stuff you liked about the previous games, or maybe even a Rockstar greatest hits, all the best stuff from the previous GTA games, plus the slow-mo shooting of Max Payne. You know, lots of different things influenced by Red Dead. You know, it's got stuff from Midnight Club, the car customization. San Andreas had car customization. You know, you could change your bits and bobs. This game, you can change your grills, you can change, you know, everything about your car. You can upgrade things, you know. And my instant reaction to that was, a bit like San Andreas. And the Rockstar rep who was hosting us was saying, no, it's going to be like having Midnight Club in GTA. You know, that's a big thing. And I think it's great for Rockstar, who make all these huge games, that they're pooling the stuff that's worked in other games and making one massive, amazing current gen experience. You know, I absolutely can't wait to play it. It was my reaction coming away from seeing it.
Okay. Tech-wise, I mean, what did you see? One thing that really stood out for me in the trailers, it was the level of sort of facial expression when the woman chases after Michael, his wife chases after Michael, and you see a few people pulling faces. It looked like it was sort of a halfway house between normal GTA and LA Noire. Not quite the full film scanning, but there was definitely more there.
Oh, again, they've certainly done, you know, their tech has advanced over time. There's still like some GTA-ness to it, in terms of if you remember the kind of the GTA bodies on PS2 in San Andreas, they didn't sort of hang perfectly. You know, there's an element of that. I don't think it's as as technically accomplished even as L.A. Noire in terms of the their facial expressions and the bodies, because they've had so much else to get in there. But certainly, it's an incredible step up for this series, and obviously, again, I think lessons have been learned from Red Dead. I thought Red Dead was not the best of the best on PS3, but it was up there for an open world game. It's so hard to kind of get everything looking perfect. You look at something like Bioshock Infinite. I think Bioshock Infinite is an incredible looking game, but they only have to do so much. Yeah. GTA, they've made a world that 5. They've made a world that I think it's I don't have the stats to hand, but I think the last thing I read was 5 times bigger than Red Dead Redemption's world, and it's there's more pixels, more graphicsosity just to Franklin than there was every combined pedestrian in the game in GTA 4. So they've done some brilliant things graphically. I think that the trailers, they've been souped up a little bit. I can't say that seeing it running, it looks as incredible, but it still looks really, really, really fantastic. I mean, the demo I saw, we started off jumping out of a plane with Franklin. And there was you
were saying about this, you basically, when you first started running the preview, you just talked about that for thousands of words or something. Just like, so what is that as an opener? How does it, is that?
I don't know if it's the opener to the actual game.
Maybe not the opener of the game, but it was your first moment seeing the game. What were the initial impressions?
It's hard not to talk in cliches, but I'd say breathtaking. Kind of you can look. You jump out the plane. You look all around you. In the very, very far distance, you can see the skyscrapers and the smog of
Los
Santos, yeah. Below you, you've got the Alamo Sea. Kind of beautiful sandy beach. Big forceful waves hitting the shore. In the middle distance, you've got peaks and valleys and waterways, and it's an incredible thing to behold. Kind of it's again, you can see the Red Dead influence in terms of the massive space to it, but it's on a scale which you've never seen before in any open world game. And obviously, because you're coming out of a plane, you can land anywhere. We saw there was like an airfield I really wanted to land in. I presumed it would have given us an instant 5-star police rating, and obviously Franklin would have been terrible in a plane because he hasn't flown to start off with. But yeah, we saw a military base with an airfield. We saw animals scurrying around below, too far below for me to actually.
What animals? Sorry,
I was going to say I couldn't tell what animals they were, but you could just see them existing, and apparently you can hunt. You can hunt for animals, a bit like Red Dead. We actually ended up landing by a stream where there were just fishermen, throwing their lines into the water. Apparently in this sort of area you can pick up hitchhikers and drive them back to the city or take them to a lay-by and kill them if you so please. The whole idea is that even when you're in the wilderness, there's this living, breathing ecosystem with multiple things to do, and you're going to see lunatics just hanging around in the countryside. One of the things they talked about, our Rockstar hosts, was that they don't want there to be any wasted time. You'll see these emergent events, I guess a bit like Red Dead, where before, when you were out in Blaine County in San Andreas, when you were driving from one place to another, there wasn't a lot happening. And for me, I sort of love driving around with K-Rose playing, and all my exes live in Texas. I love a rainy night, that kind of thing. But I was only doing the only thing I was enjoying about the driving was the soundtrack. Now apparently, a bit like Red Dead, even when you're out in the middle of nowhere, you'll see these emergent events happening where stuff's going off and you can get involved or choose to keep doing your own thing.
I think one of the examples I remember reading about was that you could see a car broken down and people asking for help, and you can sort of stop and try and help, and then you get robbed, and then you have to sort of chase after. It turns out it's all a set up trap, and you have to sort of chase them down, and there'll be things like that you
can sleeping dogs, Leon.
But you'll encounter things that will just be happening that you can or cannot get involved in.
Exactly, and I think again there'll still be a semblance of linearity, if you like, of to the kind of the missions and working your way up in the world as the 3 different characters, but equally it'll be that when you're exploring, you're not just looking at stuff, you're actively involved in stuff as well. That's the idea behind it. Again, I saw the game for half an hour. I don't have the full details on that, but it at least sounds very exciting.
Okay, cool. You mentioned obviously about Franklin's background and Trevor's sort of the crazy guy, Mike's the criminal. But from what you saw of them and their sort of actions on screen, what was your take on them? From your impressions of them, not just what you know about them.
Well, I think Franklin, there was a lot of CJ-ness to him. CJ's probably my favourite character of the entire series. So I think I came away wanting to sort of hang out in the hood and form gangs and things, as you did in San Andreas. But I think having watched the trailers again and having seen one of his missions, the character you're going to want to be to begin with is probably Michael. He lives in the up in the Hollywood Hills. I should say that there's no more unlocking. There's no more playing.
Yeah, the whole thing's available.
The whole thing is available from the start. So there's a massive world to play around in, and I think that there's that curiosity of for a lot of people it will be they played previous GTAs and they never got to the third island, as it were. And this one you'll be able to start off there. You can start off in Vinewood, messing around there, and I think. With Michael, that'll be where most people start. You can go off and play golf with him. You can play tennis. You can do yoga. So even just the fun, the silly stuff for him will be interesting to begin with.
Yeah.
And then I saw one of his, one of these stranger missions. So if you remember in Red Dead, there's a little question. You'll occasionally be driving around and you'll see a little question mark on the HUD. And think, I'll go and investigate that. And with Michael, we actually did that. So we walked down this alleyway to this question mark, and we found an A-list celebrity called, I think it was Lacey Jonas, hiding behind a trailer. And she was moaning about, being in Vinewood and being surrounded by paparazzi, and she was sort of cowering behind this trailer in the middle of nowhere, or the middle of this alleyway. And she asked Michael for help. So she basically says, "Can you nick a car, drive me past these paparazzi, and take me home?" And you think, pretty straightforward. Okay, we'll do that. So you walk down to the bottom of the road, steal a car, cause a bit of a commotion. Lacey jumps in the car, and then you drive onto the main Hollywood Boulevard. And you think you've escaped the paparazzi, but obviously a load of them follow in cars and on bikes. So they're driving after you, and the mission involves you're not just taking her home, you have to shake the paparazzi off first, and that involves your classic GTA thing of swift cornering and using shortcuts, heading down alleys, trying to shake them off. And of course you've got, on the one hand you've got this lady in the car, A-list Hollywood superstar, who is claiming to be scared and wanting to avoid the paparazzi, and then at the same time she's asking Michael how she looks and isn't she pretty, and it's that sort of nod towards the vanity and the insecurity of being a celebrity. Very funny, very rock star, very GTA, and you end up shaking off the paparazzi and driving her home. It wasn't really explained to me whether she crops up again later or if it was a one-off event featuring her. I imagine it'll be like the other GTAs when you met strangers. If you met strangers in 4, you unlocked 4 or 5 more missions with them. You kept in close contact with them throughout the game. I think just exploring the upper class world with Michael is something some people won't have done in the previous games because they might not have got to the third island. So I think
you usually have to work your way up.
Exactly, you normally have to work your way up, and having that fully open to begin with is going to really appeal to people. And so I imagine he'll be for that reason he'll be the character a lot of people want to jump in with. I think Trevor's going to be really fun as well. I mean, you watch his trailer and he's just so outrageous in terms of his language, in terms of attacking people with baseball bats and doing stupid stuff. He lives in a trailer park. I think all 3 characters have a real unique individual appeal, and they've done really well to make it that way, because it's one thing making a character like Tommy Vercetti or CJ or Nico stand out as an individual, make you want to play through a whole game as them. To then do that with 3, it's like a big ask. But kind of my initial impressions are that it's going to pay off, and there's going to be a lot of fun and uniqueness to playing as any of the trio. What
I think is interesting as well is because Trevor and Franklin and Michael are the ones people are going to sort of want to aspire to be, but Trevor's going to be the one everyone ends up playing.
It'll be really intriguing to see if you can make Trevor work his way up the ladder so that he is on an even keel with Michael in terms of the kind of sophistication. Walking. You see now in all the screenshots he's wearing his vest, and has he got a tattoo? Or is it
I think he's got a tattoo under his neck,
or whatever it is. Cut here. And it'll be really interesting, to see to build him up to a level where he's walking around in suits, and kind of hanging out in Vinewood as well. I wonder if you can do it the reverse way with Michael. I genuinely don't know, where you've got him walking around in vest and shorts and kind of a bit of bling, and like that's going to be. Doing that with one character in San Andreas with CJ was fun enough. Doing it with 3, could open up to literally hundreds of hours of gameplay, and I can't wait to. Just had a kid, so I don't know when I'm going to have time to play it, but I can't wait to get stuck in with it and explore all those options.
Yeah, I mean, because you can buy property, can't you? You can buy things like marinas and houses. Do we know if they affect sort of status at all, or they're just?
I guess so. They haven't gone into details on that so far. I mean, you could buy businesses in San Andreas, and could you? I think you could in 4 as well. You could definitely. Obviously, you've always been able to level up essentially through property, and that was your way in previous games of unlocking new islands, etc. Yeah, the garages sound interesting. I think you could own a garage in San Andreas.
You could always buy. Yeah, we own the garage, and that's where you would save your cars.
Yeah, but I love the idea of owning a marina, or multiple. Sorry, not an arena, a marina, or multiple of them. Having like waterfront businesses, and I mean, there's no real details on how that's going to work, but I think it feels like anything and everything in this game is there for you to acquire.
Yeah, and I guess you were saying about if you bought like a hoodie for Franklin, it only belonged to Franklin. I'm guessing everyone will only be able to buy things that belong to them.
Absolutely. It is that they were very clear that everything you do as one character pertains only to that character. The only time it's different is when you're doing a heist, and obviously it's either the 3 of them or it's the 3 of them and as we were talking about earlier, that your hired crew members. That's the only time where the money you get is split 3 or more ways.
Yeah.
If you do it with obviously the 3 main characters and I don't know, a driver and stealth expert, then it'd be split 5 ways. That's the only time where you do something collectively and you're rewarded collectively. Everything else, it is as if this were Nico, CJ, and Tommy Verzetti in the same universe. Everything you do with that character only pertains to that character.
Yeah, and just to mention multiplayer quickly, they're still not talking about that, are they?
But they think that, I mean, they're claiming that it's going to be something super groundbreaking that you've never ever seen in an open world game, but they are extremely reluctant to discuss that at the moment, and wouldn't give anything away whatsoever, other than apparently it's going to be incredible and something out of this world.
Yeah, we're never going to go. It's going to be average. It'll be all right.
Yeah.
All right. So overall, what was sort of your most the thing that impressed you most, and your kind of closing comments, if you like, your last sort of impression?
I don't want to sound cliched and say the thing that impressed me most was all of it, but kind of I guess the openness of it, the vastness of it. Actually, I will pick out one element in particular, which was. So when you take control of Trevor, you wake up on a beach. He's in his Y-fronts. There's bodies all around him. I think it's actually linked to a part in the trailer where you see him pouring kerosene or something on, and setting fire to something. I think he's basically burned a load of enemies. Maybe they're even his friends. Who knows? With Trevor, and you see him. He wakes up in his pants. He wanders over to the water, jumps in like a dinghy with a motor on it, and speeds off into the ocean, and he gets a few meters out to sea, and then he just dons some scuba gear and dives underwater. And they had swimming in San Andreas, and could and obviously Nico could swim as well. But the underwater detail here is crazy. It's like a David Attenborough documentary. So he dives down. You've got like a sort of coral reef under you, really colourful, lots of different life on it, if you like, and you've got sharks swimming around. I asked whether you can biff them on the nose as you can in Far Cry, and I didn't get a straight answer. I also asked if they'll attack you, and was told from time to time they will, but it's not a thing that happens regularly. So you're swimming underwater, suddenly you come to this shipwreck, what I think was a cargo ship that's dropped all its gear on the floor. And it was an annoying tease because the Rockstar rep sort of swam towards it, and it was obviously there for a reason. You're obviously meant to explore it, and then he sort of, just when he got close enough for you to get a good look at it, he then switched control to Michael and moved on with the demo. But I think the underwater stuff was incredible because the fidelity and authenticity they look for in terms of creating a real life version of Los Angeles on land is impressive enough, going by what we've seen. To then do a lot of that stuff underwater as well, is beyond belief. People would, if you said it's the biggest GTA ever just because it's got a map 5 times bigger, an on land map 5 times bigger than any game we've done before. People would love that anyway. To then do a load of underwater stuff as well and have that massive area for you to explore is, you know,
and
like,
it must play a purpose as well, because by the sounds of it, they put so much kind of effort and detail into it. It's not just going to be a bit of a cosmetic flourish. It's going to play some part in the game on a significant level. Yeah,
so that was probably the, you know, I was impressed by all of it, but that was probably the biggest surprise for me, is just like, you know, the kind of the lengths they've gone to create an underwater world that's as impressive in anything you see on land.
Yeah.
And then just in closing, I think that like the biggest, you know, I said this at the start of my article that's on the site, please go read it, is that the biggest compliment I can play it is that it lived up to my expectations. And for me, there's no series like GTA. There's no series I expect more out of. You know, maybe Uncharted. You know, if and when that comes to next gen, you know, that'll have the similar level of expectations. But in terms of open world, you know, you always think Red Dead was probably a surprise in the sense that we knew it was going to be good, but we didn't reckon it'd be that good.
Yeah.
But the knock-on effect of Red Dead was it made me think, well, now I want the best of GTA and Red Dead all rolled into one, and that is an incredible thing to ask.
Yeah.
And to then say we're going to do that and have 3 characters, it's like, you know, you're reaching for the moon. And I went to the demo almost preparing to be disappointed, thinking I know it'll be good, but can it really be as good as it looks?
Yeah, hype's a dangerous thing.
Yeah, can it match the hype? Can it match the trailers? And you know, I was absolutely blown away that they've managed, from what it or at least appear to have managed, to live up to those expectations. There were multiple times, just watching the demo, I was like, I really want to jump in and play this now, sort of this nagging urge.
Yeah.
And we used to, as journalists, we used to go in to see things and, you know, being teased with them, and, like, you know, you get hands on a couple of months and being like, all right, fine. And you kind of come away, when you've done this for a number of years, you come away being excited, but thinking, fine, I can wait. You know, I can wait the 2 months to play it. With this, I was like, I really, really can't wait to play it. You know, just seeing the missions, seeing the wealth of things there are to do, seeing the amount of places you can go and just mess around in. You know, my lasting impression was like, you know, I desperately want to play this now. And, you know, I as I say, I've just written over 3,000 words on it, which is a lot of words to write, but I've really enjoyed writing about it because there's so much I want to do in that world. And, you know, I think that, my closing words would just be, I honestly believe that it is going to live up to expectations, so be excited about it. I don't think you're going to be let down.
Fantastic, cool. Okay, well, guys, leave a comment if you've got any questions. Leave some comments, and I'll try and get Ben to answer any of your queries. There is an enormous feature on the site, so there'll be a link to the three and how many?
3,115 words.
Yeah, so there's a small book's worth of information on the site. There'll be a couple of other little stories as well, so check that out if you want to know more. But yeah, leave a comment. Any questions, we'll try and get them answered, and we'll see you later.